That was Mary of Gold, Finding Me Again. The lyrics, I just want to share just a little bit. Now I'm learning I'm not broken. I just needed rest. Step by step, I'm coming home. Piece by piece, I'm not alone. The light I bury starts to show. I'm ready now, I'm ready to grow. I'm finding me again, the me I thought I lost. Through all the nights of doubt, I'm rising from the frost. I'm finding me again, strong, unafraid, and free. Every scar's a story, every breath belongs to me. And that is what living, I was about to say living on the edge. That's what living, embracing the edge is all about. That is what embracing the edge is all about. So before we get into today's message, I want to thank Jan for leading us through meditation and our opening prayer. And I want to acknowledge today. Today is the first day of February, and it is also the first day of Black History Month. And whenever we come to February and we celebrate Black History Month, I like to say that Black history is American history. Yes? Yes, it is. So I love that CSL Global chose Howard Thurman as our companion book for this month. And if you're not familiar with Dr. Howard Thurman, I would encourage you to get familiar with him. So this is our Black History moment. Howard Thurman was a prominent African American theologian, author, mystic, and educator. Dr. Thurman was a mentor, key mentor to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and he helped lay the philosophical groundwork of the civil rights movement. He served as the dean of Rankin Chapel at Howard University from 1932 to 1944, and he was the first dean at a majority white university, Marsh Chapel at Boston University from 1953 to 1965. I always imagine at Boston University, can you imagine what that was like? Whew. Dr. Thurman championed nonviolent resistance and interfaith interracial community. In 1944, he co-founded the Church for the Fellowship of All Peoples in San Francisco. It was the first major interracial, interdenominational church in the United States. I encourage you, as I said, to pick up our companion book this month. It is The Inward Journey by Howard Thurman. You can download the ebook, which is what I did, and it's a wonderful collection of his meditations that he delivered at Boston University at the Marsh Chapel. So that was our Black History moment. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So I'm going to change my view so I could see y'all, because right now I only see myself and it's weird to just look at myself. Okay, there y'all go. Hey y'all. All right. So as Jan has shared, our theme for 2026 is open at the top. Open at the top. It's part of our Science of Mind symbol. If this wasn't here, this would be open, right? So it's spirit descending into the soul, and the lower part is the effect, the condition, right? So it's cause descending through the soul into effect, through the soul expressing as us. So we talked about creative process as part of our review for January, where we reviewed the first 4 chapters of the Science of Mind text. So February, our theme is embracing the edge. And as I shared, we are following the theme and the topics from CSL Global this year. So our message today is living on the inner edge. So I want to start by asking a question, and this question is going to be with us throughout this talk. And the question is, where am I being invited to stretch beyond self-judgment into deeper acceptance? Where am I being invited to stretch beyond self-judgment into deeper self-acceptance? I'm going to say it one more time. Where am I being invited to stretch beyond self-judgment into deeper self-acceptance? So we're just going to let that question marinate. Just going to have it like on a slow, low simmer. Okay? So living on the edge is about meeting the tension between who we think we are and who we truly are. In the inward journey, Dr. Thurman describes how fiercely we cling to our private sense of self. He writes, "Fierce indeed is the grip by which we hold on to our lives as our private possession. The struggle to achieve some sense of individuality in the midst of other people and other things is grim. We are always surrounded by people, forces, and objects which lay siege to us and seek to make of us means to their own ends, or at least to their fulfillment. The demand is ever present to distinguish between the self and the not self. In other words, to distinguish ourselves from who we think and believe we are and who we truly are. And that fierce grip that he describes, that tight holding on, is often where self judgment lives. So remember the question that we're marinating in. You got it? Where am I being invited to stretch beyond self judgment into deeper self acceptance? So, living on the inner edge is the boundary between the familiar stories we tell about ourselves and the deeper truth that is desiring to emerge. It is uncomfortable not because it's wrong, but because it's new. It asks us to loosen our certainty about who we think we are and allow something truer to speak. And often, when we reach that edge, we retreat. Dr. Thurman names this rhythm, this dance that we go through, compassionately. He says that we stretch beyond ourselves, experience expansion, and then scramble back to the familiar. We scramble back to the walls that once kept us safe. And he invites us to consider the question, what if the walls that once protected us are now the very walls keeping us small? So I remember when I went to seminary, became a minister. I was still working in corporate America and not-for-profit social service agencies as a HR executive. And I could feel the call strongly to step more fully into my ministry, what I call my ministry of joy. And there was this pull. There was a pull with the familiar, and there was a pull with, "Ooh, I don't know, God. You want me to go where? You want me to do what?" This just feels so comfy. I know this. I could do this with my eyes closed, right? But there's a part of me that was calling me to step by step, to step out of my comfort zone and to step more fully into my ministry. And when he talks about the wall that once protected us, the wall of working, the wall of knowing guaranteed that I was going to get paid every 2 weeks, the wall of having benefits, the wall of being comfortable doing something I've been doing for over 20 years became very, very small in my consciousness. And when I would step out, step, take one little toe and step out there, I would scramble back. And I did that dance back and forth until the wall came crumbling down, until it became so uncomfortable for me to stay in what had served me well, but was complete. And I was being called forth to go to the edge, to go to the edge of what I had known, to step into something that was seeking to be expressed through me. And each and every one of us, I'm sure, have had that experience. It could be staying at a job and delaying retirement. I know so many people, and I think Cheryl and Rev Joan could attest to this, who work for the city, the MTA, those type of jobs, and they stay for 30, 40, 50 years when they could have retired 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But it's so familiar, it's so comfortable that they stay and they may like it. And at the same time, I bet there is something calling to them to move from their comfortable position, to go to that edge, to live more on the inner edge. So, Ernest Holmes talks about this in The Science of Mind in this way. On page 53 in Science of Mind text, Ernest says, "Our standard is one of perfection." And he quotes Matthew 5:48. "Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." We should be able to look at a wrong condition with the knowledge that we can change it. The realization that we have this ability to gain knowledge through application. What does that mean? That we have to take action. We have to apply the principle of perfection, the principle of wholeness. So notice that Ernest Holmes didn't say that someday we'll be perfect. He didn't say somehow we'll be perfect. He said we are perfection now. We are whole now. And he's saying that perfection is a spiritual truth. So our work is to align with that truth. So self-judgment comes from measuring ourselves against human standards like productivity, performance, comparison, past mistakes. But the standard of spirit is wholeness. It always has been and it always will be. I know for myself that I will hold and measure myself against the standard of productivity. How much could I get done in a day, even if it meant that I exhausted myself? I am so glad that I let that go because The amount of work that we do is not a measure of our wholeness or the truth of who we are. And there are many people who value themselves by the work that they produce. We are not here to be productive bunnies. We are here to be the expression of love itself. So to live on the inner edge is to let that spiritual standard of perfection and wholeness seep into the cracks of our self-perception, to soften the harsh inner commentary and inner critic and allow acceptance to expand. Who has here an inner critic? An inner commentary. They got something to say about everything. So this is mine right here. Her name is Melanie. I think I've introduced y'all to her before. She has lots to say about everything I do and everything I don't do. And I'm like, girl, okay. Oh, thanks for sharing that. Okay, I'll be right back. You go ahead. And she will keep going. And then I got Harmony over here who's saying, it's all good. Just keep going. Let's take a pause. And at some point, Harmony and Melanie meet up, and this is what happens. That harmony seeps in. It seeps in. This doesn't stop. Even under this, she's still going. Melanie is still going. Woo, y'all, she is relentless. She doesn't tire. She is just going. So if you're waiting around for this to stop before you step into the truth of who you are, if you're waiting for this to stop talking or say something else that is in alignment with harmony, and mine is very clever. Mine is very clever because she'll say things like, oh, Melissa, you did so well. You went to the gym yesterday and then you did your walk. Girl, you don't have to go for the rest of the week. Look at you. I'm so proud of you. So my inner commentary isn't, she's not mean. She's quite encouraging. She's quite encouraging. She doesn't bash me or anything like that. Doesn't call me names. She encourages me all the time. Oh, yes, Melissa, you don't have to get up and meet the writing group this morning. You'll be okay. Let's get up. Let's do what is ours to do. Anyone can relate to that? I think everybody got a melody. I don't know what yours is. You named yours, and everybody has a harmony. I don't know what you named yours, but Harmony and Melanie, they are constantly in conversation with each other, not in conflict, not in conflict, because when we are living on the inner edge, we are being with what is from that inner reservoir of love, of joy, of peace, of harmony, of whatever your quality is for 2026. That's where we are living from. So we practice embracing the edge by crossing the threshold of our inner sanctuary step by step. We don't have to take these big, gigantic leaps. And I know there's a lot of encouragement around. Take the leap. Take that big old leap. Yes, you can do that, but you can also take a step and just go step by step. And you could stay right there, embracing the edge. Amy said hers name is Brenda, and Brenda isn't always nice. I'm glad yours is encouraging. Yes, yes. Brenda. And so who's the other one, Amy? If you got Brenda, what's the name of the one that knows the truth of who you are? Glenda. All right. So we got Brenda and we got Glenda. And guess what? This happens. This happens when we practice knowing who and whose we are. When we go within and we access our wholeness and our perfection. So, this is an opportunity for us to shift our perspectives, to shift our perspective that the edge is something that is negative, that the edge is something that is limiting, that the edge is something to fear. There is nothing to fear because we are supported by a whole universe. We're not on the edge, at the edge, alone. So look at the edge as a doorway, as a holy threshold that we get to cross. So don't retreat, don't become small, please don't hide, and don't silence your voice. Each of us has a unique voice. It's the most beautiful choir when we're singing from the truth of who we are. So living on the edge is a doorway into greater compassion. If you find yourself in the loop, in that dance of self-judgment, what is called for is compassion. Self-compassion. Self-compassion is a doorway into our true identity, and it is a doorway into perfect peace. Compassion. Dr. Thurman writes, there can be no tranquility for the spirit, lowercase s spirit, unless it has found something about which to be tranquil. The need for a sense of peace beyond all conflict can be met only by something that gathers up into itself all meaning and all value. Do you have something to be tranquil about? I'll give you something. You are alive. Be tranquil about being alive. How about we have a roof over our heads? We could be tranquil about having a roof over our heads. Again, we don't have to reach for the big things. It's the practical, everything, everyday things that we can find peace with. Ancient wisdom and new thought teaches that when we rest in the awareness of spirit within, the inner conflict begins to quiet. When we rest in the awareness of spirit within, the inner conflict begins to quiet. This doesn't mean that we ignore our challenges. It doesn't mean that we ignore what we are experiencing. It doesn't mean that we practice spiritual bypass. It doesn't mean any of that. We acknowledge what is. We go within. We tap into the compassion and the wholeness that we are. And we just be with that right where we are. Ernest Holmes says this: The practice of the science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowing that law of the Lord is perfect. Insofar, and Ernest has this in capital letters, and you know when he has stuff on capital letters, he's like, pay attention. He's yelling at us. Page 54. Insofar as our thought is in accord with this perfect law, it will accomplish and nothing can hinder it. It shall be accomplished and nothing can hinder it because that is the law and that is the Lord. So living on the edge means staying present long enough for transformation to occur. Don't get scared. It could feel very uncomfortable, transformation. Just check in with a caterpillar or a dragonfly or a snake, anything, us. Transformation can be very uncomfortable, but don't scramble back when it starts to unfold. Don't put the wall back up when it starts to come down. It means not rushing back into old identities, beliefs, and habits just because they feel familiar. And I would add to that, don't go rushing back to old relationships that are complete. That's a big one that we do because it's familiar, because we don't have to be who we truly are. We could be small in this relationship. So don't go back. Living on the edge is not about being reckless with your inner life. It's about being courageous enough to stretch beyond old judgments and into new awareness. I used to think that about myself. I no longer do. Because here she go. Remember that time? Oh my goodness, does she love bringing up the past? Remember that time when you did such and such and such? Oh yeah, I do remember. That was a long time ago. Yeah, I learned so much. Thank you for bringing that up. I could see how much I've grown now. Oh, yes. No inner conflict. We move forward because we are stretching into a new awareness, new self acceptance. It's about loosening that grip that Dr. Thurman said, that fierce grip on the private possession of who you think you are and opening to who you truly are, whose spirit already knows you to be. So I'm going to return us to that question. Where am I being invited to stretch beyond self judgment into deeper self expression, self acceptance? So, what might come up is all of the things that you think are wrong with you. That might come right up. But keep going, because what is desiring to emerge will also come up. So, the wonderful thing about Rockland Centers for Spiritual Living is that we don't stand on the edge alone. We're not on the threshold alone. We get to cross over together in the oneness, in the love, in the joy. We get to even linger there, right? We get to linger there, check each other out, say, what you up to? What's seeking to emerge through you? What are your desires? We get to linger there with each other and encourage each other. Yes? we get to companion one another as we cross that threshold. So let's anchor ourselves in our love work. So you'll know the love work was coming, right? So the intention of love work is to practice the principles and to be in the flow of action. Coming to service on Sunday, y'all. It's lovely, but it ain't enough. What are you doing the other 6 days of the week? Here's some love work. To be with that question, where am I being invited to stretch beyond self-judgment into deeper self-acceptance? So when you notice self-judgment, we're just going to take a sacred pause. We're going to breathe. We're going to return to the question. Know that you don't have to fix anything because you're not broken. You don't have to answer right away. You don't have to know the answer. Just be with the question. And just notice, where am I being hard on myself? What would acceptance look like in this situation? And if you like, you can anchor it with this affirmation. I release self-judgment and choose compassion. I release self-judgment and choose compassion. Glenda is always saying to Brenda, Amy, compassion, compassion, compassion. I cover you with compassion. No matter what Brenda's talking about, compassion is who you are, it's who we are. This is not the truth of who we are. It's an aspect of us. It's not good or bad, it's just how we are designed. So that's the work, y'all. Embracing the edge. We're embracing self acceptance and we're doing so with compassion. And we're putting that into action. So just notice all the opportunities you will have to practice self acceptance with compassion. And I would encourage you to just keep a little note of it in your journaling because you will see the dance, the pull to scramble back and hide and be small. All right, y'all. So let's anchor this with affirmative prayer. So I just invite you to take a deep breath and center yourself within yourself where everything is created, everything is known. And so we know that there is one infinite presence, one life, one love, one intelligence that is the source and substance of all that is. This presence is wholeness itself, complete, perfect, and forever expressing as love, wisdom, and peace. I know this presence lives as each one of us. It breathes as us, thinks as us, loves as us. There is no separation between the life of spirit and the life we are living right now. From this awareness, I affirm that the truth of our being is already whole, beyond every self judgment, beyond every limiting story, beyond every word from Brenda and Melinda and all the other commentaries. We know that there is a deeper knowing, a sacred recognition that we are enough just as we are. So I declare that each heart here is gently and lovingly invited to stretch beyond self judgment into deeper self acceptance with compassion, not with force, but with compassion, not through striving, but by taking it step by step with compassion, with curiosity, and with grace. The inner edge becomes a holy threshold, and we are supported as we linger there, listening for what is emerging, what is calling us forth. I affirm that as we align our thinking with the truth of Spirit's perfection, old judgments soften and dissolve, inner conflict quiets, and a greater sense of peace is revealed. Each one is guided by the wisdom within, held by love, and strengthened by the courage to fully be who we truly are. And so I give thanks for this truth already active, already unfolding through and as each one of us, already complete in the mind of God. I am grateful for this willingness to stay present, to trust the process, and to allow self acceptance to deepen naturally and beautifully. And so I release this word into the creative law of yes, knowing that it is done, fulfilled, and made manifest in ways seen and unseen. Ashe, and so it is. Mm.